Major airlines are betting billions on a supersonic airliner that doesn't even exist yet. So what are they seeing that everyone else isn't? Concorde failed financially, but Boom believes it has the answer. So why are aviation giants risking billions on this aircraft? When the Concorde first crossed the Atlantic in nearly half the usual time, it felt like the future had arrived decades early. Passengers sipped champagne at 60,000 feet, watched the curve of the Earth from the window, and reached New York in just a few hours. Flying had never looked more glamorous, but behind that luxury was a business model that kept getting harder to justify. And that was the problem. The Concorde became an icon, but not a profitable one. Rising costs, limited seating, and expensive operations slowly caught up with it until the aircraft was retired in 2003. After that, most of the aviation industry accepted one painful conclusion. Flying faster simply wasn't worth the cost. But then, a startup decided that maybe everyone had given up too soon. Boom Supersonic believes the real problem was never speed itself. It was the technology available at the time. Its answer is the Overture, a commercial airliner designed to cruise at Mach 1.7 and cut transatlantic travel times almost in half, while charging fares closer to today's business class instead of Concorde's ultra-exclusive prices. That promise immediately grabbed attention. Imagine flying from New York to London in around 3.5 hours without paying the astronomical prices Concorde demanded. If Boom can actually deliver that combination of speed and affordability, it wouldn't just revive supersonic travel, it could completely change premium air travel. Here's the surprising part. Some of the world's biggest airlines didn't wait for the aircraft to enter service before showing interest. Japan Airlines invested early and secured pre-orders. United agreed to purchase 15 aircraft with options for 35 more. And American Airlines later placed deposits for 20 aircraft with options for another 40. But there's an important catch. These are conditional agreements, not guaranteed deliveries. They only move forward if Boom successfully builds and certifies the aircraft. So why take the risk? Because if Boom succeeds, the first airlines operating supersonic flights could gain a huge competitive advantage in the lucrative premium travel market while everyone else scrambles to catch up. So what actually went wrong with Concorde? It wasn't because passengers didn't love it. The problem was the numbers. Concorde burnt enormous amounts of fuel, carried relatively few passengers, and cost a fortune to operate. On top of that, sonic boom restrictions prevented supersonic flight over land, limiting it mostly to transatlantic routes. The market was simply too small to support such an expensive aircraft. And everything fed into everything else. More fuel meant more weight. More weight reduced the number of passengers the aircraft could carry. Fewer passengers meant every ticket had to become even more expensive just to cover operating costs. Higher ticket prices reduced the number of potential customers, making the economics even worse. It became a vicious cycle that no airline could escape. Concorde proved that supersonic flight was technically possible, but financially, it was a completely different story. And this is where the story takes an unexpected turn. Boom wasn't founded by an aerospace executive at all. It was started by Blake Scholl, a former Amazon software engineer and private pilot who had no traditional aerospace background. Instead of accepting decades of industry assumptions, he approached the challenge from first principles and asked a simple question. What if the technology had finally caught up? Since Concorde's era, computational fluid dynamics has transformed aircraft design. Carbon fiber composites made aeroplanes lighter and stronger, while modern engines had become far more efficient. Scholl believed the physics hadn't changed, but the tools engineers now had certainly had. And that single idea became the foundation of Boom Supersonic. Of course, an ambitious idea means nothing without people willing to fund it. Boom found early support through Y Combinator and the startup attracted investment from prominent backers who believed supersonic travel deserved another chance. Scholl's vision wasn't to recreate Concorde. It was to build an aircraft that could charge business-class fares while dramatically reducing travel time. That difference changed the conversation. As confidence grew, so did industry interest. Japan Airlines became an early supporter, followed by United and then American Airlines. Suddenly, what had started as a bold startup pitch was attracting commitments from some of the biggest names in commercial aviation. The idea no longer sounded impossible. It sounded worth watching. But just when it looked like everything was coming together, boom, hit the biggest obstacle of all. Building an airliner is difficult. Building a supersonic engine is even harder. Boom approached every major engine manufacturer, hoping one of them would power the Overture. Instead, the answers kept coming back the same. Rolls-Royce walked away, Pratt and Whitney declined, and GE chose not to participate. The decision wasn't personal. Developing and certifying an entirely new commercial supersonic engine would cost billions of dollars, and no manufacturer wanted to gamble that kind of money on an unproven market. For a moment, it looked like Boom's entire dream might end before the aircraft had even left the drawing board. And this is where the story almost became unbelievable. After every major engine manufacturer walked away, most companies would have shelved the project. Boom did the opposite. Instead of searching for another supplier, it announced that it would build its own engine, a decision that many aerospace experts considered incredibly risky. The new engine, called Symphony, wasn't being built entirely alone. Boom partnered with Florida Turbine Technologies, a subsidiary of Kratos Defense, to lead the engine design, while Standard Aero was selected to support future maintenance. The team also included engineers with experience developing supersonic fighter engines. Those credentials were impressive, but they didn't eliminate the biggest challenge. Military fighter engines and commercial airliner engines live in completely different worlds. A fighter engine can prioritize raw performance and relatively shorter service lives. A commercial engine has to operate safely for tens of thousands of flight hours, meet strict certification standards, and deliver exceptional reliability because hundreds of passengers depend on it every single day. That meant Boom wasn't just trying to design a new airliner, it was also attempting one of the hardest engineering tasks in aviation: creating and certifying an entirely new commercial supersonic engine at the same time. If Symphony failed, Overture wouldn't fly, no matter how advanced the aircraft itself became. The company's biggest gamble had only just begun. But even if Symphony worked perfectly, another obstacle remained: money. Developing a clean-sheet commercial aircraft doesn't cost millions, it costs billions. Boom had raised hundreds of millions of dollars, but that was still only a fraction of what history suggested would be needed to bring Overture into airline service. Previous supersonic programs had already shown how brutal those economics could be. Concorde survived only because the British and French governments continued to support it financially for years. Boeing's ambitious 2707 supersonic transport never even reached production after government funding disappeared. In both cases, the engineering wasn't the only problem. The money simply ran out before a sustainable business could emerge. Boom now faced the same danger. Every delay meant more spending, more investor pressure, and more uncertainty. Building a revolutionary aircraft was one challenge. Staying financially alive long enough to finish it could prove even harder. History had already defeated bigger companies, and even governments, at this exact stage. Then, Boom did something almost nobody saw coming. Instead of relying only on investors, it found a completely different way to generate revenue. engineers realized the core technology behind the Symphony engine could also be adapted into a 42-megawatt natural gas turbine called Superpower, designed to supply electricity for AI data centers. That move suddenly connected two industries that seemed completely unrelated. The same engineering being developed for a Mach 1.7 airliner could also power the massive computing facilities needed for artificial intelligence. Even more surprising, AI infrastructure company Crusoe placed an order for 29 superpower turbines, representing more than $1.25 billion in backlog. It's an unusual strategy because aircraft companies rarely fund aviation projects by selling energy systems. Normally, startups survive through investor funding until certification. Boom is trying something different. Revenue from its energy business is intended to help finance the costly development and certification of Overture itself. Whether that strategy ultimately succeeds remains uncertain, but it gives Boom something previous supersonic programs never really had: a commercial business capable of supporting the long journey from prototype to passenger service. Before asking airlines to trust a full-size passenger jet, Boom needed to prove it could build a supersonic aircraft at all. That's why it developed XB-1, a smaller demonstrator designed to test the company's engineering before Overture ever left the drawing board. In January 2025, XB-1 reached Mach 1.122 over California's Mojave Desert, becoming the first independently developed civil aircraft to break the sound barrier. For Boom, it was a historic moment. Years of design, testing, and skepticism had finally produced visible proof that the company could build something capable of true supersonic flight. But here's the important part. XB-1 wasn't Overture. A small demonstrator and a commercial airliner are completely different engineering challenges. Scaling the design, meeting airline safety standards, integrating the new Symphony engine, and passing certification remain enormous hurdles. Breaking the sound barrier proved Boom's capability. It did not guarantee that Overture would eventually carry paying passengers. Even if Overture performs exactly as planned, there has always been another obstacle waiting. Since 1973, civil aircraft have effectively been banned from flying faster than sound over land in the United States because sonic booms can disturb communities below. That's one reason Concorde spent most of its career flying across oceans instead of crossing continents. But recently, the conversation started to change. A presidential executive order directed regulators to create a pathway for modern overland supersonic flight if future aircraft could demonstrate acceptable noise levels. That doesn't automatically remove every restriction, but it opens a door that had been closed for more than 50 years. Boom believes its Boomless cruise system could help make that possible. Using a phenomenon known as Mach cutoff physics, the aircraft would fly high enough for sonic booms to refract in the atmosphere instead of reaching the ground. The company says this could allow speeds up to Mach 1.3 over land before accelerating to Mach 1.7 over water, potentially expanding the number of profitable routes far beyond Concorde's limited network. Of course, speed comes with another difficult question. Supersonic aircraft generally burn significantly more fuel per passenger than modern subsonic airliners. Critics argue that bringing back faster travel could make aviation's environmental challenges even harder, especially as airlines work toward ambitious carbon reduction goals. Boom's response focuses on sustainable aviation fuel, or SAF. The company says Overture is being designed to operate on 100% sustainable aviation fuel, arguing that cleaner fuel can reduce life cycle carbon emissions even if the aircraft consumes more fuel overall. Still, the debate isn't settled. Environmental groups question whether enough SAF can be produced at scale, while supporters argue that technological progress will continue improving fuel availability. Until Overture enters real airline service, neither side can fully prove its case. The environmental argument remains one of the biggest unanswered questions surrounding the future of commercial supersonic travel. So, after everything, the engineering risks, funding challenges, environmental concerns, and certification hurdles, why are major airlines still interested? The answer isn't just speed, it's time. For premium business travelers, saving 3 or 4 hours on every international trip can be worth far more than the cost of the ticket itself. Imagine leaving New York in the morning, arriving in London for meetings, and returning home the very same day. That's the kind of productivity Boom is selling. Instead of targeting every traveler, Overture is aimed at executives, financial firms, and customers who already pay for premium business class seats. If the ticket price stays close to today's business class fares, airlines believe there could be a profitable niche waiting. There's another reason as well. Right now, Boom has very little direct competition. Boeing abandoned its supersonic ambitions years ago, Airbus has shown no comparable commercial program, and other projects remain far behind. If Overture reaches service first, the airlines that placed early conditional orders could gain a valuable first-mover advantage in one of aviation's most exclusive markets. But none of that matters unless Boom actually delivers. The aircraft still has to complete engine development, certification, and years of testing. Which leaves one final question hanging over the entire story. Can Boom achieve what entire governments couldn't? Boom still faces delays, engine development, certification, and enormous funding challenges. Any one of them could change the outcome. But if Overture succeeds, commercial aviation may enter its first true supersonic era since Concorde. So what do you think? Will Boom finally make it happen, or repeat history?